Come on down if you want to. Otherwise, Janine will hang out here in church with us, which she doesn't mind. Okay, couple of folks. Alrighty. Isn't that a great warm-up? First we got a lively prelude, and then we got a chance to meditate, and then we got a chance to do what I call aerobics for worshipers. Even if you're not much of a singer, the organ is really loud. No one can hear you anyway, so you're safe. But also the standing up and the breathing that's involved in singing really wakes you up, if you weren't already awake, because some of you aren't awake yet. That's just how that is, right? Some folks greet the morning before dawn. Some folks don't even greet the morning in the morning. And even those of us who are awake early aren't necessarily ready for a 10-mile bike ride or even a conversation, right? Some of us wake up struggling with depression. Some of us wake up dreading another day with an abusive spouse or the irresistible urge to drink. Some of us wake up and turn and gaze at the love of our life. Whatever natural morning temperament God gave you, and whatever circumstances you awaken to, how we greet the morning matters. There's a reason every spiritual path, every religious construct, every cultural practice has a way, a ritual for the morning. And today I want to invite you to think about what your morning ritual is and if it's serving you well. I've been doing yoga on and off since my late teens because a doctor said it might help my chronic backache. And I wish I could tell you that over those many years, I've become a proficient and regular practitioner of yoga, but that would be a lie. I only do it occasionally when my back gives me trouble. Yoga has a specific morning practice. It's called sun salutation. And in some practices, that is a short, gentle set of motions and mental thoughts. And in others, it's vigorous and involves multiple push-ups, and I don't do that. But moving your body, even just a little, and waking up your mind with some ritual is a great way to greet the day. What is your morning ritual? All this summer, we're talking about the good stuff. And I'm going to invite you to do something, which is have a morning ritual. Now, what I'd really like to see is if, they want me to go back to the pulpit, so. Okay. I told them, they said, where are you going to be when you're talking? I said, I'll be in the pulpit, and then I wasn't. So, sorry about that, tech desk. They're awful good sports. So, this Sunday, our giveaway is this nice, non-gender color, not pink, yoga mat, which can be yours. I invite you to send a picture to SEC@FFUMC, that'll be on the screen momentarily, about your morning ritual. If you are willing this week sometime to get up to greet the dawn and actually go watch the sunrise, bonus for you, send us your picture. SEC@FFUMC.net. And next week, we'll show off the winning picture, and someone will get a yoga mat. And this is a great thing to do if you're a member of our online community. We welcome you to participate, and we'll mail you a yoga mat, right? So this morning, we're going to focus on morning and how God's Spirit can come to us in ways that don't just change our morning. They can change our day, and they can change our life. We're going to sing one more stanza of this, one of my favorite hymns, Great is Thy Faithfulness. And I want to invite you, surprise, to just listen to Bryce sing the stanza, and then we'll all join in on the chorus. And you may remain seated for that. Being in love is like that, and it's my prayer that as we grow together in our faith, that we're going to feel just like that about our spiritual life too. So that was terrific. We're going to read the psalm together. Today's scripture is Psalm 139, and I've selected some of the verses, and we're going to put them up on the screen, and I'd like you to read it with me. It's a very first-person psalm, Psalm 139. So let's read that together. We need the first slide from the sermon slides. There. That's the title of the sermon, in case you wanted to know. Here we go. Do this with me if you can. Oh Lord, you have searched me and known me. You know when I sit down and when I rise up. You discern my thoughts from far away. You search out my path and my lying down, and are acquainted with all my ways. Even before a word is on my tongue, O Lord, you know it completely. You hem me in behind and before, and lay your head upon me. Such knowledge is too wonderful for me. It is so high that I cannot attain it. Where can I go from your spirit? Or where can I flee from your presence? If I ascend to heaven, you're there. If I make my bed in Sheol, you're there. If I take the wings of the morning and settle at the farthest limits of the sea, even there your hand shall lead me, and your right hand shall hold me fast. If I say, surely the darkness shall cover me, and the light around me become night, even the darkness is not night to you. The night is as bright as the day, for darkness is as light to you. Lord, you have searched me and known me, and such knowledge is too wonderful for me. In fact, such knowledge is so wonderful, I'm not sure I want it. Psalm 139 is one of the most powerful expressions of radical monotheism in the whole Bible. There are other places in the Bible where God is proven to be the strongest of the gods, or God is the real God as opposed to some of these other lesser gods. But here there is no room for any other God. They just don't exist. They're not real. There's no room in Psalm 139 for even other God-like things. God consumes us all. There's not even any room in this psalm for human existence, except in the encompassing, powerful presence of God. There's no room for us to live outside of where God is. Now, there's a physics explanation for that, but I don't know it, because I'm not a physicist. I'm a theologian. And our Christian theology says there is no place to go where God isn't. And that is a powerful thought to wake you up every morning, maybe even a little daunting. We are a bit inclined to see our spiritual practices as one aspect of our lives. You know, we have a physical life, we have an emotional life, we have an intellectual life, we have a sports life, we have a sex life, we have a fun life, we have a food life, we have a play life. And the temptation is to see our spiritual practice as one of those things. But this psalm says, oh no, all of those things are completely consumed and inside the bubble of our spiritual life. Our spiritual life is an umbrella over all of that. It's not a compartment of our life. It is our life, and everything else is within it. One of the ways that the Bible, and in fact other religions, refers to the all-encompassing nature of the divine is to talk about breath. This is why most morning practices include a primary focus on breath. You could do worse than wake up every morning and be grateful that you're still breathing, right? And some of us are starting to notice that, right? In the Bible, the Spirit of God and the breath of God are the same word, ruach. And in the Bible, it means spirit or spirits, winds, wind, breath, mind, and then a bunch of other lesser things. But there's a sense in which spirits, wind, and breath are all the same thing. And there's no way to distinguish, if you're reading the Bible in Hebrew, whether it intends to say that the breath of God or the Spirit of God is what calmed the chaos in the primordial waters. There's no way to distinguish between the breath of God, the wind of God that blows into the mouth of the human and makes it come alive. And it is the wind, the breath, the Spirit of God that blew over the early Christians on that first Pentecost, Ruach. Now, if you're one of those people who has had a wild, exuberant, just positively stunning, like clomp to the head, stunning spiritual experience, that is fabulous. Remember it, cherish it, celebrate it, share it with other people, let everybody know. And realize that only about 1 in 1,000 people has that experience. Most of the rest of us have a breathing out and breathing in kind of experience, something more subtle, something we sometimes don't even notice until someone points it to us. I love that phrase, like breathing out and breathing in, and if you don't remember where you heard it, I'll help you remember. You heard it from My Fair Lady, the musical, where Henry Higgins fixes up Eliza Doolittle, makes her a high society girl after being a grubby little flower girl, and then she gets tired of his patronizing attitude, I don't know why, and leaves. And he sings this song about how he'd grown accustomed to her face, and her presence had become like breathing out and breathing in. He hadn't even paid attention to it until it was gone. What happens when God gets into your day from the very first breath? First, the foundation of your personal life changes. When God's Spirit, breath, wind comes into your life, first thing in the morning, the personal foundation of your life changes. And I don't mean you win the lottery or all your day-to-day struggles go away, but if you've ever felt like you're living in a dark hell, then you'll begin to understand that when God's Spirit comes in and God gets involved with you, you begin to make your way back to the light. Starting every morning with a deep breath as you greet the sun. It's not a quick fix. A life being rebuilt by God happens step by step, day by day, prayer by prayer. And it starts with the dawn of each new day with some spiritual practice that reminds you to breathe. Why don't you do that right now? Some of you are not actually breathing right now. Right? Some of you are wondering if you can go to the bathroom without drawing attention. Some of you are wondering how long this is going to go on. Some of you are making a grocery list in your head. That's fine. It doesn't hurt my feelings at all. Just take a breath. All right, the breath of God comes to help us put our life together piece by piece if we will pay attention. This is one of the gifts of a morning where we are paying attention to God. Second, when God's breath gets into the picture, we become a thing together. We become a fellowship, a community. Actually, what we become is a conspiracy. Some of you may remember the Ezekiel Bible passage where Ezekiel's looking out on that valley of dry bones, and the prophet says, speak to the bones, and the bones are going to rise. And Ezekiel says, that's nuts, they won't, and then they do. Sounds like something, Wes Burton would cook up. But that happens when the breath of God gets in there and it knits everything together, bone to bone, and in our case, person to person, lungful to lungful. We become a conspiracy. One of the to breathe together, conspire is to breathe together. I love this because it's a little bit rebellious, but it's also a word nerd's delight, right? con is Latin for with, connectivity, and spire is breath. You expire means you're done breathing. You respirate or you respire. So conspire is to breathe together. And it definitely has the connotation of up to no good, which I kind of like. In that sense that when Christians let the breath of God come into us and we conspire with one another, we start getting about what John Lewis calls good trouble. We become a conspiracy. We breathe together. As a church, we strive to do this. We strive to be creative and powerful in our efforts to do good in the world and in our community. Used to be a church like ours sat downtown and thought of itself as a place that had money and resources, which is true, that we give to them, us and them, right? And we thought, our job was to do that in the most productive possible way, but now we conspire with our community. It's not us and them, it's all of us together, working together to find solutions to the heartbreaks that we all have, to the struggles that we all have, to the hungers that are eating away at us, whether they're physical hunger or spiritual hunger. This is our ministry beyond the building. O Lord, you have searched me and known me. God knows us very well, the good and the bad, and especially the untapped gifts we have to offer. The third thing that happens when the breath of life starts coming into you and you have a regular practice of attending to that first thing in your day is you begin to see your gifts in a different light. You begin to see your gifts in a different light. And you learn to value yourself and others differently. I get a bunch of church newsletters from all over the country. One prints little blurbs in its newsletter about from people in the church and why they like their church. And a few weeks ago, there were actually two. One woman wrote that she joined because she really enjoyed the fellowship with her friends, the feeling of being uplifted, and the Bible study class. Hooray for feeling like you have someplace you belong, right? That's so important. But it was this 20-something guy. His comments really struck me. He said, "This church helps me get outside my self-centeredness, gives me tools to help my gifts grow in service to others, and directs my thoughts and actions towards sharing what I have to offer instead of how to get more out of what I imagine I lack." I did not have that kind of wisdom in my 20s. I hardly have it now. He went on to say, "This is a safe place to be a broken and flawed person, but to remember that I'm whole enough. I am whole enough that God can share God's love through me. This is a safe place to be broken and flawed, but to remember that I am whole enough to share God's love with others." And I just want to stop and give a shout out to Barbara Giasoni, who on a monthly basis gives us a beautiful story about one of our members, either of our church or of our community, that's like a point of light and a point of love in our community. "O Lord, you've searched me and known me. You know when I sit and when I rise, though I rise on the wings of the dawn. Though I settle on the far side of the sea, even there your hand will guide me. Your right hand will lift me up." Listen to Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. At the center of the Christian faith is the conviction that in the universe there is a God of power who is able to do exceedingly abundant things in nature and in history. Is someone here moving toward the twilight of life and fearful of that which we call death? Why be afraid? God is able. Is someone here on the brink of despair because of the death of a loved one, the breaking of a marriage, or the waywardness of a child? Why despair? God is able to give you the power to endure that which cannot be changed. Come what may, God is able. And you tap into that when you build a daily morning practice, whether it's one grateful breath or a whole sun salutation. Every morning, like breathing out and breathing in, God's faithfulness returns to us new mercies every day, and we are known, and we are loved, and we are powered, and we are a conspiracy. Will you pray with me for a moment? Oh Lord, you know us better than we know ourselves. You love us just the way we are, and you invite us to a life unimaginably rich and full. New each morning is your breath, O God, meeting our breath and filling us full of spirit. May this be a morning that is new for us in some way. May something new and surprising flood our spirit. May we turn our back on whatever stands between us and the deep spiritual connection you offer. Breathe on us, breath of God. Fill our minds with your love and our lives with your power. Great is your faithfulness. This is my prayer in Jesus' name. And all God's people agreed and said, Amen. Amen.